Let's let her warm up real quick. See how we do. All right, looks like we are live in the chat. Cool. Warm up real quick. Sweet. Post her up there. Okay, let it do a little warm up cycle before we dive into some stuff. See if I can have anyone else come up on stage if they want. No, I think it's just, yeah, it's set up a little different, but we'll figure it out. Yeah, and if the Discord stream dies, I'll try and keep an eye on that too. I think sometimes it goes into salvage mode to save some of the CPU or something, so it turns off the Discord stream sometimes. So definitely ping me in the chat if something goes up. Right on. I think we're doing pretty decent here. But yeah, as we get started too, go ahead and let me know if there's any kind of the coins that you wanted to check out specifically. I'm just gonna go through a few that I'm interested in, so and kind of tackle some of the calls in ways that I personally would do them myself. Of course, to start off, none of this is financial advice. I am simply just seeing what Thor has to tell me, drawing some lines on the chart, and yeah, just going from there.
Yo, what's going on, Dregz?
Oh, yo, what's good? Oh, you found a way to get in. Dope. I was getting lonely up here. I was like, oh, damn. Something to bounce off of is always good.
Yeah, open stage.
Yep, open stage, dope. And that Twitter is going up. So, yeah, I think before I start into Soul, I'll let it warm up, because I feel like with these streams, I start with Soul and all the really interesting stuff first. And then everyone pops up and didn't get to see it. So, we're going to start with some calls from Arboretum. So I thought some of those, when I was scanning around, were looking pretty interesting. And a lot of lines you see up here, if you're new coming in, I usually leave lines that were called last week or in the previous weeks of doing these sessions. So I just leave up the lines, and it's fun to kind of go back, see what have worked, what got invalidated, or just kind of how it stays in that range. So you got a short we never hit at the 149, and that long call that I was even looking at was at the 98 cents. The 15-minute does have a 97-cent call that goes up a couple percent, so the TP's up $1.04, but it is a lower number, so I always get lost in the fact that, hey, that's still 4%, so that could still be cool. What I do like those is it's getting called on a lower time frame, repeated on the hourly. We had one call lit up a bit from 99 cents there too, and a lower one that I was looking out for. Did I put it on? No, but I will. At like around 91 cents, where it's calling another little support zone. So when I see those two lines, two calls, I usually see this up here. You can see the boxes from the range of a singular call. I like to look at this as the purple box itself, going through right between those two ranges. So below this line and above that, I think is a solid buy zone. If you have a chance to DCA, I think that's really a solid place to do it. The TP3's at $1.08. But we do see those larger shorts on the 4 hour, nothing on the 1 day. But that fat range from, was that March, late March? We're still seeing us bounce in that range. This was called way back, what is that, March? So we look at this chart here. We were in the $2 range when this call was made, even went up to like $1.18. But it took us breaking this little peak up here at 240 to invalidate it, which up there, but never happened. And here we are, another one that looked like what is that, a 50% drop, and you kind of just laugh at sometimes, but here we are. So I think a retracement to fill this cup was a conversation we were all having before too, and even that TP1, which is going to be above a 50% gain. This looks like a fun place to mess around with, to keep on your sights and radar for sure. Yeah, I've been digging this call, and it's kind of supported by a lot of other ones. Nothing's really throwing me out by a sub level range. Like there's no like 80-cent calls besides that 1 day range, which is pretty sweet. So that lower edge is saying, hey, you know what, you got the 88 cents there too. So yeah, it's pretty much following that last wick that come down at this point. Just saying, if you go below that, it's not really saying too much. Let's see. So I take that. Yeah, no, I take that. I think it's pretty clear here, even with the last line that I put. I would usually readjust that. Actually, let's do that now with the 4 hour 22. It's a more fresh call we should throw up and be aware of, which would be a solid, it's like a 22% gain if you're taking one of these calls, just on the top of the head. Yeah, 22 throws us back down in this range we're at right now, which is pretty rad. I think that's a solid first point I would consider. It is invalid at below 99 cents. Looks like the stronger one is still at that $1.50 zone, which I always knock it down just a little bit, right, to make sure I don't get front run on some calls, because the psychological number, if you will, it would be the 150. So why not knock it down to like 149 and change, or a little below that too? Because believe me, it sucks missing a trade because you wanted 0.2% more, and now you're missing out on like 10% gains that you slept on because
OCD.
That damn OCD will mess you up, man. But if I was, and I'm looking to get into the trade. It hasn't triggered yet for me because I think I'm actually at like the 99.44, so I'm like at the lower edge.
Are you talking about the second long entry?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's the first long entry, so I'm not going super heavy into the first one. I'm doing add some decent capital into there, so that's not leveraged. Maybe we'll talk and see what the situation is down here, but I also put nothing leveraged but just some spot here, and then a little bit, I think, above that. So I didn't do like 90 cents or 91. I pumped it up to like 93, I think the 93 cents or something. Again, kind of front running this call. Depending on what you're using, a lot of dexes are, don't have all the liquid, and sometimes it's hard to get those orders filled. So little another navigating thing there. But yeah, I am looking to enter in around the 99 cent zone, and then I would consider this TP as the short as my TP for a long, because I can lower it down to something I would do, just sitting on those wicks there, the candles. Yeah, that seems like it would make sense to me to do that, because I'm going to buy there, sell here, and hope that we go back and I can rebuy it, maybe some of these TPs from the short, to kind of get that flow going through the trades. So yeah, no, I think that we could probably see that touch down and come back up again there. So that's how I read these calls with the Arboretum. That's probably a solid one at 15, but again, I'd kind of front run it because the ranges aren't too crazy. But yeah, that first one, second one, buying between this box is a good zone. Under this call, above that one, and then using that short as a TP, just because, I mean, these TPs are kind of cool, but, you know, it won't be bad to scale out maybe around that zone, like a 1 to 11, but to hold out to there tends to do me well, tends to do pretty good as a goal post, and if things change or if weight's going down, you can always leave or put a stop loss in profit. So it's the worst case, you're not losing money, which is a great case to have. Let's see, things are jumping up.
Hold on, Dregz. I'm gonna leave and come right back. I can't see anything on screen.
Oh, it's probably me. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, there you go. You just need to ping it. Discord goes Discord goes to sleep, so if it does, just say the screen's dark and all. Yeah, it's having fun with that. Trying to keep it thinking I'm active on it because I think it's putting it to sleep anyways. On to the next. Actually, a trade. I've been getting back on to Pyth a bit. Oh, no, I don't.
Yeah, that 4 hour has been looking interesting, eh?
Yeah. And yeah, oh, here we are. Looks like we're dancing on a... Let's see what's going on here. A lot of fun stuff. So obviously that long call, the 56, I think got invalidated or stopped out. Yeah, looks like we're dealing with these right now. A short at 68 cents. And what do we got? That long still hanging out around here. Like that 57 cent. Which, you know, we could see sometimes when support turns into resistance. Sometimes that does happen. And figuring out when that's going on is definitely a great skill to have. I see that sometimes. That's the biggest thing with some Thor calls is that it is a very strong support, but sometimes the market moves in ways that aren't, I guess, fully, I won't say calculated for, but just things happen. These are just a good chance that it's going to happen, but it does serve as a good resistance. And once you start seeing it act as a resistance, you can see kind of right here, it's bouncing off that zone or that area that was called. That could serve as a good TP for some like scalping calls within. So that's kind of what I've been doing here. I was trying to scalp a little bit once it was going down, and once you see the resistance, you see it losing the steam, trying to, I'm on the day, that's why. Here, yeah, let's go to 4 hour. Yeah, so you can see it kind of bouncing off there, and you'll notice it just runs out of steam. It's going uphill, and it just slows down. That's usually an indicator for me that, hey, maybe it ain't gonna bust through. Cool. Maybe I'll just sell a bit there or have another stop loss going down. I think there was another call, which is why this green line was made. But we could see, again, it's kind of got turned into that resistance zone again. I don't think it's very strong, but we also had that 48 invalidation line, which I think is looking to be a pretty decent support, and I think an important one too. That one, I kind of messed around with that last night when it hit a little lower and it bounced up. The RSI was just cooked low, so I think that's what made me get into the trade. What made me jump out is, again, it didn't have enough steam. I think it was like right around that candle, it was just dipping down, so I was like peacing out. Of course, you could always have more, but I always like to have extra capital to jump into maybe a better trade. Yes, so if it did break this 48, these calls come in at different times. They come in at different parts of the week, different times I'm sitting down. So always why I like to keep these on, because a lot of times Thor calls are cleared out. Maybe, not want to say too soon, but it's set up in a way that it's not keeping a bunch of these Thor calls stationary and filled up into the queue, or else it would just be too crowded and way too noisy. But I find that there are some important things. I delete lines and I keep them once they have a pretty decent importance. And I think how to find those is a good skill to have. And it's all tends to be for me in these invalidation lines. So you'll have like in the high time frame. You get that 58 there for long. So that kind of tells me that the 58 is probably a really tough resistance point. And as you can see in the past, it was. Once that's passed, then this call's gone. What I see in my interpretation is there was another fat day call or short. I think there's some shorts, yeah. Like 1 day shorts at $1. Yeah, they were the higher ones at $1.90. Those are gone now because we breached that 48 invalidation line. But I picked that line, and why it's important to me is now I see that if this line's broken, I'm going to start looking into that 34, 31 for Pyth. Because it's showing that we're weakening at a support zone, and Thor's not really giving me any other kind of strong supports, no other longs in between that, no other invalidation lines. Maybe this 46 could act as something, but I think it's kind of generally in that range, the 46 in there, but it's proven to hold true to that. Yeah, actually it looks like that. The 46.4, it's kind of funny how that works.
Yeah, Dregz, like I noticed after I was making those same like horizontal lines on the invalidation zones, like I would just mark them red.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to the asset like a few days later because different calls pop up here and there, and then those invalidations definitely you'll be able to see in price action where that resistance was met yet again. So it was definitely cool to see that correlation. I was like, oh, there's resistance here again. Like,
Yeah. And
yeah,
Sal, see if you're in the DGen chat, Sal usually goes off on it. Like, we don't see the call anymore, so no one's kind of maybe paying attention to it. But just pull up his little Thor view, and you can see that box just getting bounced 4 times, like checking it 4 times, just repeating the movement. So I think finding that zone really, shaped things up for me into like saying when the winds of change are happening, so I can
yeah,
catch
definitely.
it. Which I think is important. So the sentiment right now is I think if it holds over 48, great. I think it's a good place to DCA in, start buying. I'm really loving how this this long from that we're decently below didn't stop itself out. I think that's because its range is so fat anyways. That's really badass, and I hope we see that. But I'm really keeping that in my sights still, though. That TP1, like we said with Arboretum, if you were to enter this call, you're definitely you're underwater. But I wouldn't say all hope is lost. Maybe if you leveraged heavily in, but I would still be looking at this as a TP, and that's 68. We do have a TP1 at like 80, but maybe you can do some swing trading or scalping if you want a little more extrapolation on your percentage. I think optimizing it, I would definitely just kind of swing the trade there at like maybe 68, jump back in at one of those TPs at like 2 or 3, or as time passes, new calls will come in. So maybe that opinion will change as the weeks go on, the days. So yeah, that's a little hopeful. Just hoping. I think, and actually, that's where the conversation's headed, anyways. BTC.
Yeah, I was just about to ask if we could check out some BTC.
Yeah, because there we go. And that, so looks like from last week, we had a short that became. Wait, is that a short? Yeah, should have been. Yeah, that was from last week. Yeah, the short must have busted through right through here. Yeah, and it became support. The resistance is now support, and you could see it so beautifully here too. It probably was called around this zone under, and then just busted through. Definitely happens, but it could have been a lower time frame call. That long looks solid, but it looked like it broke under a little bit. And if you see that purple line is the invalidation. And like I said, the invalidation lines are so important. Just as for me, if I'm messing with leverage, I'm messing with, just my stop loss or something like that. I think a big thing we're chatting about in the other chat over this last week was, if you're going in on some heavy lev and within your own, your degen opinion, a lot of people put it on zones that literally it bounces off of. Like I've seen it a lot where your liquidation is literally at the question of bounce or, going back down. So when you have your liquidation or your stop loss sitting right there where we're figuring things out and it's undecided of the general direction, you'll stop out and then lose all those gains, or you'll be liquidated. So what I really try to do is, if I see a invalidation zone or a line, I try to make sure my stuff is well under it. If we pop this up to a bigger day view, I wouldn't think it'd be too blatant to see like that zone, but that invalidation line for me definitely served nice. I didn't take any trades like that, but I think it's a good example of seeing right. So many times it just hunts it. It feels like they're just out to get you. They knock you out right at like a couple bucks within that zone, and then it'll ride back up. But it's pretty interesting how these lines are hugged. So Thor is definitely onto something. Now, let's see what it says this week. I'm going to take some lines I don't think are too important. Almost like saying this is almost a buy zone in a way too now. Let's see if Thor agrees. Oh, would you look at that? Thor agrees that resistance turn support is now a short-term long call. It's a short range, not really a flip to bat too much of an eye at unless you're just scalping or doing some lev stuff. The 60 was at 66. Just right below it, which I kind of personally may take this off and focus on that lower one. Does it rest there? And on the bottom of that. It's moving up the list. You got a short at 63, just barely above where we're at right now. What is that? So, which looks pretty good to me. Let's see, got that bounce down and then down to 61.51. 61.51 is pretty much hugging 61.51. You go back, yeah, it's within that range of that call. Is TP3. So you found a range. So that's something I just discovered here, sitting down looking at BTC. You can see that, hey, we have support zone here, which is also TP for short here. It's just finding little pieces of information that can support the case for a certain direction. And basically it's like you have 5 reasons why it should go up and 2 reasons why it should go down. I might be leaning towards the longing if I have more reasons for up. Just as an example, here it looks like it's a good reason if you think, hey, you're hearing it's pumping, you should come in, jump in, just buy in, catch this pump. Well, there's not much pump left, so I don't know if that's what Thor's telling me. Is I can wait before I buy, make another purchase. I could see already that there are suggested zones that are going to give me a better buy-in by like maybe 5%, a couple percent here and there, because we got this range sitting at, yeah, about 3% there. So you could get like a 3% discount just by looking at Thor and seeing where to buy. Again, you could shave off if you want, but for me, it's a 1 hour call, so it's a low time frame. Like me day trading, I would be focused on that, kind of seeing the movement that we have there and rocking it. The 1 days are still far out, they're hopefuls, but they're sitting there giving us hope. The invalidations for these hopefuls are 56, 55, 56, 54. Yeah, it's around that. That line's a little above it. But then, yeah, you zoom out a bit, and you can see why. That might be a good support zone, maybe a really strong support zone to consider for BTC. I think, again, that's the winds of change. If we break that zone, that support, I don't know. I don't have any calls, but I would suggest it going substantially lower. So that's why I don't. Again, for me, what I take from that would be my emotional skin is pretty tough. I think it just adds some kind of shields me against seeing what's on the crypto Twitter timeline. People freaking out, people tripping over something. It slipped down 5%. Oh no, the bull market's over. Honestly, I didn't know it even started. Being real, I think we just filled the cup, so to speak. I don't think that's a bull market. We're down here 5%. Oh, it's all over. Nah, dude, we got like 10% till we could still be talking about a shift in the I won't say divergence, but it looks like a bullish divergence is what Bitcoin's doing right now. Bouncing off, showing that strength there, and hopefully continuing that. But I'd imagine we can bounce off that 60 zones again too. We'll see. But yeah, I think that's what Thor's got for BTC at the moment.
Hey, you mind if we check out some ETH?
Yeah, actually, been messing with ETH a bit more after I've been using the recently. We've all been eyeing the flash trades. To be fair, at this beginning,
how do you like that?
At the beginning, I wasn't giving them much credit. They're starting out, and maybe I was more of a Cyberfrog maxi, hoping that like they would make a DEX themselves. But I saw Sile and a few other people like Banana and others using it. I like it a lot. I can't make limit orders, but it's a catch-22, right? So excuse my ignorance on it, but the way it's pulling out isn't from like an order book. It's more pulling it from, I want to say an aggregate, or like it's pulling out of somewhere else that doesn't depend on market makers within the app itself. To me, it seems like it's just a really broad general market move. So if I want to jump in at the price, if I'm on TradingView and it says Ethereum's at 3,028, Flash Trade will have that at the market price, and that's cool. Sometimes Drift might be 2% off. Then you got some fees. Now you're down like 3%, but depending on the fees, you're already at a disadvantage, and you need to make that 3% profit just to be in the green again. I don't like that a lot, especially if you're leveraging. That's where it gets a bit tricky. So you're leveraging on an already poor, lesser than market value price. There's other things that go with it, but for Flash Trade, I do like how I can just immediately get the market value. It's quick. I don't get liquidated because of some weird stall in some system. And when you cash out, when I exit the trade, I could choose to be paid out in certain coins too. Like if I'm trading in Sol, you could get Solana. I think even I could do a long on Solana, right? And then TP and have them turn that when it hits the TP and take profit, that I can limit order and you can stop loss, and you can choose to have that return to you in BTC or Pyth, anything that they are. I think they're holding. I have to look into that more, but I think that could be pretty heady. Yeah, that could be pretty heady in our search for that BTC Sol volume. I know I got a little knocked off from the Ethereum, but if say you do a long on Solana and then you pay yourself in BTC, that could be a good way to trade a Sol BTC contract, right?
That's pretty.
Because I mean, if I'm exiting, I'm holding Solana, and then it goes up, and then when I see it hit a certain zone on maybe, it's going to take some math or whatever. It's not straightforward, but if I see a zone hit there, I could run to, say, the flash trade, switch it to BTC, and then if BTC has dominance, then that's kind of like a BTC spot long in itself.
Infinite money glitch.
So that's where I think that's where Sile might be smelling. I have no idea, but I know he's been liking flash trades a whole lot. So that usually says that something. Yeah, they're doing something different that allows for something else. That's all I know. But I'm just exploring it, and I'm liking it. I honestly, I'll say I wasn't giving him the credit that was due, but I'm glad to see builders out there. Bringing something like that to life. Hell yeah. Just getting more awesome DeFi going. So yeah, I'd check it out. Yeah, hit me up for the referral code. Just kidding. No, but no, it is cool. There's more stuff with it, and you get their like discounts through their NFTs and stuff. If you trade big, sure, I'd maybe look into that, but you don't need an NFT to start trading with them. So that's only, I'd say if you like it, I'd go do that. Or if you're gonna
be my toes in it.
If you're gonna be doing like $10,000 fucking leveraged moves. Let's see. Oh, we're going to ETH. Let's check out ETH.
Yeah. Ended up popping in this too.
Oh, damn, back to 40. Yeah, this is the one I think we're talking about in the chat too. I got lucky on one of those, I'll say that. Because I think it was one of these calls and it dipped down, but let's start drawing some lines here. Let's see, got 1 hour. That 98. Ooh. The 82, like 2000, 2982. There's a nice little long. It will knock you up to where we're at right there. 31. Seem to have a couple hanging out. I'll just do that first short. 119. It's got a little short up there. And I'll toss that other one above. But I'm going to see what we got in the higher time frames. Ooh. 34. 30 something. Yeah, that's hopeful. I mean, then we got that active one right now. Yeah, we still been on that a couple. Yeah, I think we were rocking that a couple days ago. That was actually the call. Let's see. I mean, let's see how much we deviated from that call there. I mean, really at its most, it dipped like a 1.5% from that Thor call, which isn't bad at all. If your typical stop loss would be like 2, 3, I think that's solid. Even still seems like it was worse than it was, but was at the TP's at 73. It's only a little bit away. It's a 3% move, so not much, but could be pretty decent. 2800. Talking about our favorite lines, the invalidation lines for that top zone. And there's no really, that's a long. I think everyone had there's some old ones. Let's see, 23. Look at that, 2380. So yeah, there you go. There's the story again. If it breaks that 2,800, if there's no other calls there, it could go down a bit. But I mean, where are we at right now? Where that is like 20%. That's pretty substantial. So I think we saw in some other ones where we had some pretty low calls. I think it takes a couple more things to really have them in front of my radar, like really paying attention to that. That's something I'm not too concerned with at the moment. Not really too heavy in ETH, but hey, that 2,800 is broken. We know that is a better narrative to go towards right now. You're just gonna try and break that short right through here. You got a couple of shorts though that we saw, so it's definitely gonna meet a couple lines of resistance there. What was it? 2950 is a invalidation for some of those. 2950, 2937. So not really, no crazy zones there to see. But yeah, it looks like over time you're gonna look at probably launching from that area where we're at. I think it was like a 4 hour. So yeah, that's a lot more believable. Get that 4 hour jumping up through here. It might catch down a little bit. If it does TP a little bit above or where we're at right now, it would make a lot of sense as a higher low, and then maybe hit some of those other shorts that remain on the top there. I think a lot of things that, I don't know, seems to me I feel like I'm on the bullish side of things at the moment, but I think that we will see a little turbulence before that. But I mean, from what Thor's seeing, we kind of filled some local cups in a lot of charts, but we still have yet to retrace on some of these fatter ones, these bigger lines that I see in a lot of charts too, that Thor's calling shorts for. Doesn't always mean that that's where it's like magnetize and gravitate towards. So I don't think I see a short call and now I go insanely long just because I think we're gonna hit that. No, I like to see it because it just sometimes a bullish move that says, hey, this is a good place to sell over selling lower. So it's going back and forth, but that's how I like to look at it, is that there are suggested sell zones, and when there's not too many sell zones that are heavy range, I'm going to probably listen to that heavy range one, and it tends to work, but it does take time. It takes some patience to get to, because this stuff would probably take another month. It'd probably be like a couple weeks into June by the time we see something like that. But hey, you'd be glad you did.
Into the TP zones of
into the short calls themselves. I was just kind of talking about how I see when I see a short, it's not like, oh, hell yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The short zones of the 1 hours.
Oh, just all of them. I kind of depends on the ranges. How would I say it? If I'm in a long term kind of move, and like I'm running a 4 hour call here, I'll finesse some of my DCAs with the 15 minute and the 1 hour. So if I think I guess I'll talk more about it on the render one, but I was kind of hashing back and forth between selling what I had, selling partial what I had to rebuy lower, but still holding the bag, just so it's dollar cost averaging, but still leaving that open side exposure to the upside there. And then, I mean, what's that? We got a 1 day at 43. Another short there. That just goes right above that. So I think that kind of correlates to some of the BTC higher calls that I see too.
On that 1 day, right?
Yeah, I mean, like the 74K, or sometimes you saw the 80K call on the shorts for BTC, but
Yeah, because
yeah.
I guess like one thing I'm trying to get better at too is um like there will, for just as an example, there will be like a 50-minute call, right? Let's just say for shits and giggles, it's a long. And I remember seeing this for Soul, for instance, and that 15-minute Soul call ended up like clearing uh well into like uh, $20 above. It was like during I think the 120-ish ranges.
Yeah.
And then like one 15-minute Thor call led into like crazy ass long. Um, but like being able to identify when it's a good time to be patient and look at the upside of holding a position. Of course, it's all dependent on like your tolerance, but um, yeah, I guess how
I guess my starting bags, I think what I do too is like when I see something, like when is a good time that I see is to jump on the call. It usually has to do with kind of sorry, what the market's kind of doing.
mhm.
Obviously, I'm trying to think where the market's kind of going with it. What would I say is a good
Obviously you're not gonna want to hold a long if you're like uh already like, you know, at the pico top. Um,
yeah,
but like when you're bottomed out, at least, you know,
yeah, and I think explaining some of this with what I actually did too may help. And hell yeah, I think that was actually more. Was it 20? It was like 23 cents or something. Yeah. So that's kind of, this has been my, I think yeah. It's been my story with, and see, this is a short we busted through, thankfully. I started I started this trade, damn, bro, like end of March, or I don't even know. It must have been at like 10. So I went in with some decent size on a call because we had bounced down from a local top up here. You know, my perspective, you know, we hit up here, we dropped 10, it was like 25, you know, we dropped 25% near the local top. And there's a call there and I bought. Cool, went down and then we got a little bit up. I didn't sell because, you know, it wasn't too much of a percent. I wanted that full kind of retrace up. Didn't happen. That's when we had that shakedown too. So I was hurting. You know, that's, you know, I didn't put a stop loss in, man. I just let it ride. I didn't go all in, but I did put a heavy amount in. So it was worth salvaging. I think sometimes I'm overall bullish. That's a bigger conversation. Finding certain coins you kind of think they're going to make some huge moves. That's just like doing your own research. So it's kind of nice to have a background into coins that you do believe in. That conviction does help in this regard. Otherwise, many other cases I would have put a stop loss or something like that. But that's just the reason why I did it. And so we go down. We had some more calls. I was just scaling in with what was it? Like these 15-minute calls that were coming down. I had averaged down, worked my way down to 83 cents. That wasn't until here. I was still 9 cents. I had to go up, or like it was like 9 something. I sold some leverage up here. We go back down and we come back up. And then right around here, we were getting calls for like 740, but then we dipped even lower than that 740 there too. But, you know, just hanging out, holding on. We go back up, and that's where I start taking those TPs, was like around that like 94 cent mark. And then I start pulling off that leverage. Now we just get to glide up and made another sell there, and then another sell up here. I still hold that bag, even though I'm thinking about, you know, now it's a point where I'm rethinking my options. I really wanted to see some more calls on render.
Yeah, that's some conviction for sure.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I just
Dude,
turned,
so I'm still holding
bro.
that bag.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I fucking I'm still holding it. Dude, it's sometimes just turn shit off and walk away. Like I just like go, I shouldn't look at this anymore. I'll mess with it, man. Like I'm not the best dude at drawing, but when I draw a picture even, and you make a little mistake, and you go, oh, that's not right, or if you're writing and you start to fix the mistake, and it looks all messed up, man. It looks, now you can really see your mistake, and you've just made it worse. So I try to not pick at things. You know, that's the best way I like to do it. Just like, oh shit, I have a grand strategy here. Let's just come back to this later. And you know what? Sometimes Thor doesn't have any calls for you. I think for the longest time it was just this like 11 and 12 short call. That was my hope. And then I think I had an invalidation. I didn't see an invalidation I cared about in this one. But now, so for me, now it kind of brings us up to speed where I'm at. I think I'm now down to 0.5 of the wallet that I'm using for this. So like 0.5x. So we're not even a full amount. So I have like, yeah, so I've sold half the bag so far. And then where would I look to rebuy, or what would signal me to sell more? Here I would check out the higher calls. So I'm seeing 7.4. I don't want to do this all over again, man. I'm fatigued. I don't I don't want to go down to 7.4 again, you know. So seeing that makes me not as, you know, convicted this round. I'll definitely bail a whole lot earlier this time, even put a stop loss in profit 100%. And for me, if it's right down here, I'll probably think, actually, let's just do it live. Let's see why would I think that. We're gonna change some of these to buy zones now that we're here in 9.4. We're already there anyways. It's crazy. Yes, a lot of times these are just lines that Thor had given me, and I just keep them up because I like them, or they rest really nicely on the charts. And it's crazy how future plays or future motions of the chart really adhere to what's going on, or those lines there that Thor is spitting out. This is invalid at 11.39. I'd probably take my stop loss and profit at like 9.8. You know, I think I would 9.8. Where would that be? Yeah, that makes sense. A little under there to say we broke something, but it could just scoop up right here at that 9.4. But I just go ahead and buy some more there. I just start buying back in, so now I have more fire powder or dry powder to do the cycle over again and start from scratch. You know, and keeping that 7.4 in my eyes again. I'm not going heavy. I'm not going heavy on some buys right yet. So now I'm kind of torn. You have like half a bag that's decently substantial. I might actually shave off a little bit more while we're up here. I'm on the 1-day chart, so it's kind of hard to see a little more vibe of what's going on. 2 hour there. Everything's up, but it's kind of cooked down a little bit too, and it kind of recovered nicely up there. It's gonna breach up that 4. Yeah, it's getting kind of hot there, and it bounced there too. Let's see, 9.4, 9.8. It's good to do the 9.8 too. Why not? And that 10.5. So yeah, now I kind of have my eyes set on this range here, where that sell line would be. That, yeah. I'm not gonna get too greedy with it, just because how far we've come. And am I gonna risk it all for 20 cents? No. I'm gonna stick to the sub 22, hit that line, and if anything, maybe bump my line down a little bit more to like 11.13 or 11.12, just in case we don't get that full fill up here, but maybe just a touch and a tap, so I can at least get myself within that wick 100%. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna dump it there, call it good. Maybe rebuy around here too. If it does do that, it looks like that 10.53, but it's got a lot of stacks going down too. So when I see a list of calls like this and it's the 15, I don't really care. I try to take the top one and the bottom one as my decent range. So yeah, it's like the 10.5 to 9.4. That's why the 9.8 kind of looks like a great buy zone, because within this range you kind of have a couple. So maybe the middle ones are kind of good too to check out, because if we do slip at the top, you kind of get that zone and chance to bounce back there as well. They're all made at the same time too. It's just kind of nice to little detail to look like these calls are all made at the same time, so there's obviously some action going on between that zone. And then I time it up too. Sometimes you step it up a second. So 15-minute deemed on the shorter time frame, that we might play around here. So what most likely is going to happen, it's going to bounce to 10.5 or 10.3, bounce kind of back up to where this went up there too, and maybe make its way back down, just guessing from what's looking up here. So this is a shorter time frame movement. That's something that will happen and play out, but then once you hit that target point, the story continues. And on the 1 hour, these are going to be maybe the next. On a larger time frame, we evolve into something like that, still bouncing back to where the shorter ones are. So that's nice. That's why you'll see you get more range with these ones. So it's kind of nice to jump in there. But if you wanted to scalp, that's where these come in, and then you start jumping into the longer time frame, the 9.8, 9.4 zone. And then you see that 7.4, what's on the 1 day? We got shorts. So it's volatile, but that's what makes some trading stuff like this fun, is because the ranges on render have been amazing. I love it. So the volatility makes it so I can spot trade and catch those high percentages without the risk of liquidation lurking over me, by trying to use leverage to get those crazy percents. So I've been having fun, and it's a good altcoin for me, and that's why I like it. So the AI narrative and all that stuff, but its correlation and how it moves is with the market. But I've also noticed when the market's red, render is up sometimes. So it's not. Uh-oh. Wake that up again.
Can you hear me?
What's that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was wondering, do you I know you like trading render a lot. Do you hold spot? Do you hold like a long-term conviction bag of this at all?
Yeah, I not a big bag of it. Let's see here. What would I do? I have a DLMM pool set up, and the fees that I collect from that using USDC, like kind of sometimes I do a heavy one-sided on USDC and a light bit of the top edge render. So I like have 25% of what I have in the coin on the pool and a lot more in the USDC. Anyways, when we go through that, I usually keep the fees that I generate from the native coin, and I stack that as spot. So yeah, I do have spot. I do hold render as a spot. Some of these things that I do, I don't hold all those coins, but that's one that I like to accumulate. I just have a decent little bag of that. and same thing with Kira. When I'm generating that with Kira, I just send that to the ledger, keep just stacking that pile up. Because for me, it's like, I don't know, how you generate fees, and if you do it right, it's kind of just like extra little rewards. So just put that in for a rainy day. Maybe sometimes that's kind of what
It's
it
a
is.
moon bag.
Exactly, moon bag, or I don't really feel bad tapping into it if I need some liquid or something like that. So it's kind of a two-sided question. Yes, I do have spot of it, but I also pick out of the bag, rotate it maybe too. So, you know, I think it is worth having some spot buys of it though.
I know we can't look at it on Thor, I don't believe yet, but would you be willing to take a peek at Nosana, sort of in the same vein as Render here?
You said, oh, like no, oh, I see.
Nosana, NOS.
Yeah, that'd be over here. Oh, nice. Yeah, doesn't look too bad.
Sile was saying when he popped her into Thor that there was maybe I think a short around $6 on the daily. This thing's a beast, by the way. Once you zoom out, this thing's a fucking beast.
Yeah, no doubt.
A couple months ago, it just came out of nowhere and went from like sub like a cent to like almost, what was it, $8 or something. So
yeah, even just like there. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it was a multi-1,000% move.
Yeah. Coming up there. Ooh, it's an interesting. I think it's at an interesting point.
Potential breakout.
Like literally where we're at right now.
Or...
Like, yeah, it's a potential break, but also looks like a heavy, like a resistance.
Heavy
point
resistance.
Too. Okay. You had it pop up there. So my first look there, I'm just kind of seeing that it's tried. Like 1, 2, 3. Well, I almost got that. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Kind of 4 times. 5. So this is the 5th. It's like, kind of makes me. Yeah, I don't know. If I wanted to be involved in it, I would definitely scoop some up, just like a small bag, and then see what happens. But especially after that pike there, I don't even know it. Let's see. Oh,
so
yeah,
like
15 moves.
Not much is breaking out like right now with the general kind of ranging of the market, right? Would you not consider that kind of that big green engulfing candle kind of bullish? And if market turns around or keeps going in a bit of a better direction, like would this potentially be able to break on the 5th? Or either way, the 5th attempt is kind of bearish for you?
Well, I would just say that it's I guess the 5-time thing wouldn't be like, oh no, it's tried 5 times, it can't do it the 6th, or you can do it the 3rd, the 4th. But I think for me it'd be more of it calls attention to the importance of that line. So I kind of look at more out of it going, oof, if we did do that, I don't know where, it could be a nice solid breakout into maybe testing that 5-7, or it would lie back down on that too. Ooh. That's a good, let's see, I'm trying to think where everything was kind of vibing for me. I feel like we went up a bit, but I think we'll go down. I don't know. That's not that crazy. It was just like a little 10% move in the day. For me, yeah, I'd probably wait for a little better, maybe entry. But like I said, too, that's something I'd probably DCA into. Maybe I'll just scoop a little up and see what happens. But
I've been trying to DCA in around anywhere from 375 to like $4. So it's a nice little pop up off of the lows there.
That range. Zone for sure though. I mean, this is definitely bullish. Not maybe this green candle by itself is what makes me bullish, but I would say this was helped. This rise was really helpful to see, because I would be very bearish around this point here. I was kind of bouncing up because it would look like kind of like a little, I don't want to say fallen knife, but it kind of looks not so good. But especially on a new coin or something, like, and not knowing about it. But yeah, I would say that's solid.
Would you be taking profit here and
Taking.
then trying to get a better entry?
That
I'm up like, let's say, like somewhere between like 15 and 20% maybe.
yeah, I mean, that's generally pretty good in my opinion, but
Yeah.
oof,
Yeah.
and it's hard. It's like in my opinion, ooh, I would ask if there's. Do you think a bunch of the other coins, if you notice it correlating any movement or moves up with the market kind of thing, like I was talking about with render, if you see the market moving in a direction is kind of where I would ask. And I see BTC has a little bit to go until we hit that one, like 63 short. So I would take that with that Thor call and stretching it all the way over here to say, I think you could get a better entry. You know, maybe, yeah, shaving off some cells is kind of good there because it could probably just not immediately retrace, but maybe do a nice little walk down and blow this up a bit. Like the walk down to the retest of like the 90, the 3.9 to fill that candle up, and it kind of swooms back down. Kind of like this one did. I just kind of look at this candle too. It went up that kind of same distance and got like
Walk down a bit.
25%. Yeah, so like 25% above that candle, which would put you at like $4. Yeah, like resting right on top of those other wicks right here. Yeah.
It's not a lot of money for me, but it's the thinking of like the last few times on coins, like let's just say Jupe and Pith. Like I've not necessarily been taking the 20% off the table, and you know, inevitably a few days later, like it tests to the downside again. Just we're just in those kinds of conditions right now, it feels like. So
yeah,
I'm trying to kind of try to train myself a little bit better, if that makes sense. To just okay, cool, be happy with the 20%, and if you can re-enter.
Yeah, that's a lot of times that I do because the whole saying profit is profit. So when you walk away from that, you got 20% and it goes up. Cool, you missed out on 40%. Like you realize we miss out on 100%, 50%. It's like every day, all the time. So it's like we just noticed that one. So for me, I'm like whatever. I didn't lose money, and I didn't really sweat much to get it. So it's pretty decent for me. And in that regard too. It's always talk about the opportunity cost, which hurts me more than, you know, I don't want to take out money just to have it to immediately go into another trade. That doesn't always work. Just rushing around like that. But
I do like this for the long term. So I'm not looking to exit.
Yeah.
I'm just looking to maybe take some profits and then buy back in lower and repeat that a few times.
Yeah, and for me, I always like to look at movements like this bar, like seeing any kind of, I want to say cloned movement, but a movement that, let's see, so this bar goes up, it kind of retraces down to that 25. This one did that movement, and then you go over here, and it kind of did the same. Every time this thing has a decent little poof, a little green wick, we kind of see a similar kind of pattern go around. This one had a nice couple of them, but we have to see a couple of those to kind of get that other movement. Anytime we see 1 2 1 2, it kind of does a little different there, of course, but more often than not it fills that in. And here it kind of does it too with a lot of these coins. Is someone does this, you know, someone activates some slippage. Oh, someone hyped Kira. Woohoo. Yeah. Let's see. And a larger time frame, you see it. Like it. Yeah, let's do a day. So those larger time frames, you can kind of see those fractional patterns. Like this goes up a bit and then it kind of fills it down, but doesn't completely fill it immediately, and it pumps up again, and then it kind of does that same movement, this time going under it. Oh dang. And so nothing really has, you know, broken it. It could due to things by like news, people's interest, or other things are moving a lot quicker, not much volume going on. But, you know, Kira, you know, we all know this thing's a sleeping beast right now too. So if I see charts like that, it's pretty bullish. And hey, your Nasana has that kind of same, you know, close to that movement. So I'd have to say, for me to want to buy it, I have to think I'm bullish on them. And yeah, I mean, I think that'd be good. I think it's a good rotation, but you just want to make sure that like that retest zone is enough percent to make it worth it. Because depending on what you're doing, you know, if like the 5% gain you're gonna get from doing that is really worth the upside exposure risk that you're taking out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Opportunity cost and risk to reward are the two determining factors for the things I try to get my toes into now.
And always like put yourself into someone else's head too, because like if everyone's doing this, I guess there's 36K wallets running it, but yeah, so it's got a decent amount of people, but people kind of react the same. If you see something and it's happened before, I can see that same kind of movement going on and kind of retesting even there at that like 10-cent mine. Because like you said, nothing's really going to be breaking out right now, I feel like, unless there's some crazy little shift happening, but I don't really see that happening at the moment. But that's why they're unpredictable. So
you said there was a 4-hour Bitcoin short coming up too, is it?
Not the 4-hour. There was it was the 1 hour. I was meaning
that 1 hour actually just hit, and it's funny.
Yeah.
The stop loss, the 2-to-1 is actually at it's where the wick tipped at, or peaked at rather. It's pretty funny.
Nice.
Thanks, Dregz. Appreciate
what would you
your
make of that,
insights.
Dregz, if you looking at that?
Looking at
like,
that. Oh, let's lower this down. Let's go here. Yeah. I mean, it seems about. Looks like Thor's doing its thing, you know, live. You seen it live, everyone. Well, yeah. Oh, that's a nice little 0.6. That would definitely shake people up. But that's again, I think a reason why, you know, you don't go super crazy heavy leveraged in. It's good to like set an alarm when something hits. Have like obviously a buy going in. And if I wanted to go heavy, I honestly, personally like to be around my computer, so I'm at a moment's notice able to get in or out. Usually, if I'm doing some crazy, more heavy leverage kind of stuff, that's when you got to really watch out for. Sometimes it just likes to go up, but we could see it's making a little resistance zone. It's on a 15-minute time frame, and it's looking like it's I wouldn't say bouncing off of it, but this is where we get to see whether it decides which direction it wants to go. On confirmation, if we see this next couple wicks going down more too, I'll also add into the play as we deviate down, because sometimes when we're in that zone, in that takeoff area, you know, you don't know which way we're going just yet, and so it's hard to react, and that's why I do like to be at my computer for the larger movements. What would I make use of that? Got the 62K as TP1. 62. I mean, that's not unreasonable. Let's see these. Oh. Yeah, it's interesting what I make of that. If it does break that, let's just go to 70. That's what I think. I'm down with that. Ooh. Yeah, that's why you let Thor. Looks good to me. I mean, I don't know. That's a big thing with Thor too. I think is a good example of, you know, it had the zone right, but sometimes it deviates a percent or two. That's not unheard of. Just know that when you're getting into these, and you can make a proper choice thereafter. It's gonna be interesting to see here, and again, that's when I'd like to see it bust down past this other wick through here too. And if I was taking the short, or you sell here to buy back lower. But now we're jumping into profit again. Hey, but I kind of use a chart. So if it's 62 was TP1, and for me that's just with, if you're risking a lot, obviously you're going to be getting a lot more for that percent. So the size of capital definitely matters, and if I'm really into it, I'll run it for not the full length, but I'll find a good maybe slight resistance zone where something on the chart's doing something a little different, and I'll just TP there. It's guidance. Thor is like saying, "Hey, this is guiding me to an answer," but the path I take could be a little different. We're on the 15 minutes, so it might take some time for this to be confirmed, but it's looking good. I'm confident that first couple red wicks.
Yeah, it's looking sturdy.
Yeah, would be what I need to see, but I would be more happy to see it down here. But sometimes this stuff takes time. 62 would be a good zone. I could guess that's 61.
Yeah, we're dropping, baby.
Oh yeah. It's alive. Ooh. Feels good, man. He's like, damn. Shit. I'm just about to. I'm half of mine sitting here going like, damn. Let me jump in. Jump in on flash trade real quick, bro.
Still in range.
But that wick too. That's another good example. I go, oh, it's doing it. Let's go all in. But I need to see it go past here too, because that's where everyone's going. Because everyone's playing. It's that PvP. They don't want it. It's not gonna be easy. They're trying to keep that, but I don't know. Yeah, it's always things are always different every time, but I think that you'd be happy if you sold here at least, and then you can be picking at it to buy. I know shorting's always a little more difficult, but you'll be on the winning side if you're using Thor, I think, more often than not. At your own risk. Of course. I think, yeah, we didn't really jump into Solana yet. Damn. So what's up there? Been digging what I'm seeing. We still, wait, is this the one? That's not the one. Damn. Probably should have saved it, but I didn't. Lost all my lines. Oh well. Okay. Let's see what we got. 160. Oh, that's why I'm still in the 15. That 160 has been our favorite little invalidation line to keep track of. It's kind of the zone I'm looking at. And other people have some of their zones on Twitter and whatnot. And you can see sometimes it is agreeable there too. But I really think that 60, which is the invalidation line for this long, is another good example of, hey, there's a fat invalidation there. I should be mindful of that when I'm doing some longs, buying into that. It's just showing us some really strong resistant points there. Looking like it's going to try and come for another go, but it looks like maybe last week we had another short that was hanging out there. So we got a little zone trying to keep it down. You got those 4-hour short calls. Oof. Riding up from 270, 202, 180, and 171. I'll just call you 170, which fills this kind of larger cup. Let's bring it to the day. Oops. So yeah, you bring you up to this short. I don't think there's any information on that one, what it had, but it's saying, hey, putting that there shows me there's going to meet some resistance. So if I'm on my own and not using Thor calls, it kind of does serve as some guidance as to saying, hey, we're approaching another resistance zone. Be mindful if you're trying to enter a trade, trying to get to here, because we might actually get stopped right there in my tracks and get sent back down for some of these lower calls at 108. And then that lower one at 160, or sorry, not 160, but 60. Just throw it down there or something. Not too concerned with that one. My eyes are on the 108, and that gets to, again, that 160. That's really, that line rules all those lower shorts. So again, that tells me I like how close we are to this line, but it's also when we have to start paying attention to some stuff. If we break that line, I'm going to be trying to, I think that passing this line is my confirmation to do some like longs. That's when I'm like, personally, that's when I'm like, hey, I think we're going to be showing strength. This is the next zone that we should be hitting. Save for the fact there could be some 1 hour, 15 minute like roadblocks on the way to some of these zones. They just haven't popped up yet. And why that's important, usually if you're spot trading, it's not a big deal. But again, with your leveraging, some people just try to go ham on it, and they use this as their target zone. You got to switch plans. If you had like a call that said you longed at 160 and there's a fat short at 165, don't be so arrogant sometimes when things change to go to this one, because chances are that 165 hits, boom, you cash out, you go back down further to maybe 150, 155, and then you could come back in. But lo and behold, we see it in the chat sometimes too. Just it's people not checking frequently enough sometimes. Like it's good to come back if you have a fat trade. Take a second and look at Thor again. I mean, it's right there with you. A lot of times people asking some questions and the answer's right there in Thor. So it's really important if you're using Thor to check it all the time. And moments of notice, a new call could come in. Not too often, but it's not like, every time at 9 p.m. at night it's refreshed. No, anytime there could be a new opportunity that plays out and we miss it. But that's why it's so important to remind yourself too that there's always another opportunity coming around to make another play. So yeah, Solana looks, I think we break through this other little resistance zone. It looks to me like, yeah, what we need to do. So you have two zones that, like right now at least, that 152 to 160. So I'm not really doing anything with Solana besides the auto Thor. I'll definitely buy it at 108. We don't have any other little lower time frame calls, so that's when I just go to some other coins if I want to be in the mood to trade. There's definitely something else that's probably more close to a zone than some other ones. And I do like just browsing and going through some stuff, because I do see when we're at a zone, when we're good to go, maybe there's another opportunity that I'm not really paying attention to. Really cool. They threw in what is that, wormhole. It's a new one. Whiff and wormhole got added actually, so that's pretty badass. More coins the merrier. W's pretty fun. Let's see what it's saying. Some of you might be interested because it's a little hype. We are at a short zone. Sick. Actually, damn. Gonna save this one. Let's hit that little add button here. I'm gonna take the higher one. I'll probably run that short if we get to somewhere up there. Keep my eyes out for that, but looks like a little quick one. Yeah, just a little capital, throw leverage in there, boom, get her down back to the 62 cent zone, or you could run it to the 61. You could probably make off decently with that, but we'll have to see, because again, I just don't see everything busting out, but that could always change in the moment. Yeah, you got 5% or the 62. Get you a nice 5%. So it has a decent range there. And if you're holding wormhole, I mean, you don't have to short it. You can. Oh, eyes on the 68. Okay, maybe these are good TP zones. Buy back in at the 60 because I'm seeing the 62 pop up a few times as a rebuy zone for these shorts. So yeah, looks like the 64 to 68 down to 62 or 61 seems to be that range for W. And yeah, I don't know if anyone had any other questions before I show off a little stock calls again. I think there's a couple more. We could always go back to coin if you guys did have a question, but since I don't know, we got this Twitter up, or X or whatever. I don't think a lot of people have seen and realize Thor works in your 401k account, your IRA, or whatever you may be using. Just normal stock brokerage. But if some people, this is going to be, I think we love crypto. That's why we're here. Probably you're here right now. But, we're talking about how Cyber Frogs is going to, reach the masses. And I think in a way it's pretty niche. But I think that's really how you're going to get a lot of other people, like more Web 2 minded folks. Because their interest is there. And I think the stocks is kind of the gateway drug, so to speak, into Thor. Once you see it work with something then you're going to trust it with something more that you maybe don't know. Shopify. Let's see. And you may be familiar with that one. I brought this up because, come on, we're really close to an entry. It's got to scan a few calls, but hey, Shopify has done me right before. And it's calling. Actually, yeah, this was the last call we took in the stock calling channel. It was a 46. I think it TP'd at like 60. Yeah, I think I TP'd right there. Psh, missed out on all that. Damn. But yeah, I just followed that TP, and even that was like a 25% like gap or something like that in just a day. That was cool. You can see it had gap down as well. And where's that? 56 is the lower call for this, which kind of makes sense, Let's do the 59 to somewhere up there. So some kind of buy zones there would be good to consider for shop. And then let's see what's going on. Oops. If I hit up that call, oh, come on. At the top, I always like to be, conservative. If I hit it at like 58 and I entered the call, it's a 20. Yeah, well, where's TP1? Let's say 68.5, 16% gain. We got a range upper to 19, which is what was that, like 26? Yeah, you got a decent percent range there for this call. I don't see many other ones around it, so yeah, I'd buy in pretty decently on this one here. Actually, I'll probably throw some limits on that and watch list this call. And if you're using stock calls on Thor, make sure you save it. You get the calls for 48 hours and they disappear, but if you watch list them, they'll be saved. They'll be saved in your little view list here. So you come back to that, see the percentage you are away from boarding until it hits a zone. Sometimes it's not always up to date, so I open up the trading view or your brokerage account or whatever you're using, and then yeah, you could run it like that. So that's what I like, and you enter anything on with the Nasdaq, even Forex will work here too. Not many calls on a lot of these, but TSM, little semiconductor manufacturer, you got calls running for there too, and it works pretty nicely. The same way you do crypto or looking at the other coins, it does these you could trade big old companies too. I think I had a skipped over. I think I got a notification for a question about like any other indicators that I use besides this RSI. I use the volume's nice to see, and it's funny when people ask the indicators that I use. For all the trading that I do, I honestly like the MACD, like the MACD. I really like that line. It's really dope indicator. Let me see. I thought I had it up here. Oh, well. Just pull it up and see if I can show you if you're not familiar. I don't really use it so much. The moving average. Oh yeah, I'm a cheapo and I don't buy. Oh boy. So I just say you're using too many indicators. Oh my god. Oh my god. See, the Mac's cool, but I should probably turn on a different thing here. Let's go to Solana. It's great for finding out when. We got a little more buy pressure, the kind of the EMAs. EMAs are really good and actually ones I like. This is one indicator I end up using a lot too, and it only works on a larger time frames. I don't really listen to the short and longs that it's spitting out. It kind of does help me. Not really help me, but it's cool to see. As you can see, if you're to short here, you're out of luck. You're long here, you're out of luck. So I don't really listen to that. I'm just looking at the EMAs because it's like a 2-4-20, and I just watch those rolling through. Is that a 2-4-20? I thought I'd like the 100 as well. Is a really good one. A 50 and 100 EMA. These are cool. I like seeing this stuff, but I'll refer to it and see where we're at. But at the intersection points, I'm gonna see where's a bamboozle. So yeah, maybe you might get bamboozled here, relying on this too much, because you could see how it intersects, and at an intersection, usually you see a dip. When the blue goes under the orange, and then vice versa, when it goes above the blue, above the orange, you see it pump up a bit. Like right here, goes up. Cool. But if you rely on this too much, and what I did in the past is I was looking at that, waiting for the intersection, and going, yeah, I'm gonna pop in right here, dude. This is right when it's gonna intersect. That should be when it pumps. But oops. You got bamboozled, and now it's going down. So relying on this is cool to see where we're at, but I honestly just take a peek at the RSI, kind of seeing the barometer, like, oh hey, we're pretty hot on the oversold, man. Like the RPMs are high, we're revved up. It's gonna need a break. All right, breathe, or vice versa. It's too low. We're oversold. Damn, like this is ludicrously low. I think we're going to come up and get some upward motion because just how low we are, if other things considered. But for me, I don't like to have the reliance or using that too much. So you'll see me more just have the volume. I don't really use that too much either, but it's good to see. It's an indicator, say, okay, this is a meaningful movement. Or you got that RSI. The RSI is great, like I was just mentioning. That's the one that's been reliant to me to say where we're kind of at. And so we're right here in the middle, testing that like resistance line. We're not super cooked, so the theory is we could pump up a little more and then smack into hit that 160 line. If we were to pump up a bit more, I feel like it would gas us up to that 160. Because we're so gassed up, right? We look back and we see how many times it busted through. It busts through sometimes, right? It goes over the top, but not all the time. That tells me if by the time we reach this zone, we're probably pretty hot on the RSI, meaning that maybe we don't have less of a chance to bust through that. So that's where I see it. But if we were at the 160 and we were like low right here, woof, I think we had some room because we're not close to being oversold. That's just kind of an indicator for me that I like to use. in correlation to Thor, and also the EMA lines, like the EMA 50, the EMA 100. You kind of see where we bounce off of that, and you'll also see some lines correlating to the EMAs and Thor too. So the moving averages is usually the way to do it. Let's see. I guess we're also looking at going back to these as well. You got other calls like Apple. You can do Amazon, many more. Anything really you could type in that's available on the NASDAQ. Not all of them will have calls, so it's kind of a bummer, but that's all right. That's just the way the world is. Not always a call waiting, but there might be one somewhere else. Yeah, I think that's dope. And then if anyone had any questions or a little more they wanted to dive into, maybe some coins that you were curious about, that's on Thor. But I think that might be a good place to kind of wrap it up. This little session we went through. Kind of bullish on a few things. Finding some pathways. Let's see. Actually, let's run back to BTC real quick too. See how that plays going on.
Yeah, BTC is looking like it's on the drip.
Yep. And look at that. So what we were talking about earlier, now that time has gone past, get those lines, they're getting a little weaker. Not weaker, but smaller and smaller. It could kind of bounce up again. You know what it does is I would see it bouncing up again to play with you on that resistance, or probably on here. It's a shake. If you shake out a little bit down there in that call too, I've seen that happen a lot too. So it goes down, but it kind of goes, oh, just kidding, goes back down. But yeah, see on the 15 we're pretty cooked, and that's another correlation. Hey, we're pretty cooked right here. I'm gonna jump in this zone and maybe think about what we're gonna do when the RSI gets to some other levels on the median zone there too, or that lower portion.
Yeah, it could retest too, right? Like a few times.
Yeah. This thing could go. Yeah, we could just be bouncing around up here, like intersecting with it, just shredding away on that front. It looks great right now. I mean, if you did do that, and then you quit your whole 0.3%, but I mean, still, that just pretty badass, man. I don't know. Just in front of your eyes, it's just the application of Thor is incredible, and the amount I think people make trading a bit more difficult than it needs to be, because it could be as you could just do a couple bucks, man. Like, I swear to God, like, people try to buy a whole house with like a couple trades, but you got to do this for a little bit. You got to practice getting good percents. Trade $10, man. Trade $50 around, and then you're smacking down on these 10%, the like 5s, the 20s, higher. Great. If you can consistently do that, then you can start using more money. But I think everyone psychs themselves out because they don't know all the indicators. They don't know all this stuff. Like, just want to reiterate, I use the RSI. I see line here. That line means, ooh, too hot. This line means, ooh, we're too cold. We might go back up. I draw lines from what Thor tells me onto the chart. And I just react in that way. Of course, using it, you'll get more, but it's all guidance too. I wouldn't look at it as a target point, but like a course dot there too. Like we saw, it has this variance. It could have like that % or 2 variance, but more often than not, it's putting you on the winning side of the trade with very little to no need of indicators, though they do help. They do help make you an educated decision, because sometimes what happens is, to continue that thought, you'll have a call from April, a month ago, and you have a new call right over it, sometimes you get to see the indicators to say, hey, when that call was made about a month ago, what changed? Like, things were looking different, but the way the chart was moving put us in a different position today. And so that's another way to kind of recalibrate your trades too with new calls. And that's the best thing, it's a moving current, and you gotta have to go with the flow. You can't change the river, so you gotta have to flow with it. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know, man, you'd be drowning or something. It's not a good time.
Yeah, dude. Like, I've just been straight up trading a few different assets, but which each and every one of them, it's like just taking into account for those invalidation zones, and dude, Thor just updates when you I was asking myself, I was like, is it because I was like, is Sile updating Thor right now, or uh, am I just using it more and more that I'm realizing how frequently in live it'll just update those data points? It's insane, dude, like how just those swings in the markets will just be spot on for those probabilities of entries,
Yeah.
Uh, I'm enjoying
No,
it.
it's fun, man. That's what I get a little it's addicting sometimes. Keep on checking for the next play
Yeah.
and running through that. Yeah, that's what I love. And once you keep looking at it, that's what what I mean more to say is it's even paper trading too. You don't even have to be trading much. You could just take Thor, draw some lines like I just did on this chart. And that line is a theory of where you wanted to buy. You could see how you're doing if you bought there. Plain and simple. That's good practice too. Paper trading is worthy. It doesn't sound fun, but I mean,
Is that what the terminology, is that
yeah.
what paper trading
Well,
means?
yeah, exactly. Usually in
Oh, okay.
brokerages, they have these accounts where you can do paper trading accounts, and it's actually it's pretty lucrative if you're really good at it. People could see that. You could just use that as a portfolio thing, and get a good job in that field if you have.
Or it got me working on Wall Street.
Yeah, right. I don't know if I want to do that, man. I can't. Yeah,
Nah, yeah, fuck
that's just rough, man. Yeah, you get paper trade, and they do have stuff like that. Now, I wonder if there's any like DeFi things that's like be like some paper trade and stuff. That would be interesting to see. Just like little dud accounts where you're trading with stuff, but it's worthless. It's like you're not trading cash, you're just trading paper. And then it functions the same. You run into fees. It just helps you practice the nuances of trading rather than just buying and selling. So, yeah, paper trading's dope. That's what the term comes
Oh wait,
from.
so paper trading is just taking like a copy trade but using fake money to like
Well,
practice,
yeah, so
not
usually
practice,
I
but
found it in like brokerages and stuff. So say like TD Ameritrade or something, you're on their app. You can open up a paper trading account and fund the account with $300,000 paper dollars, right? And then just run your portfolio off that cash, and then that's how you could see how your performance is doing, how you did. And practicing with a lot of money is different than doing buys. Like if you're doing like 6-figure buys, it's a lot different than the 100, 1,000, even $10,000 buys. It just slippage, things get a little different, but still the same. And see, we got that little pump in BTC. We were losing steam. The bars get smaller. Then it's gonna probably pop back to touch that zone again. So if you're crazy at it, you'll just be scalping away over here. But like the ranges are way too small. But it is fun to just see how that movement's running. I think someone else in chat did ask if we had a stop loss. Thor does have a stop loss function. If I wanted to take this 108 call, you hit the RM, which is risk management. You type in the amount you want to risk. So I could trade with X amount of money, blah blah blah, but I only want to lose $10. Like, I don't want to lose that burger. We got this. Tells me at TP1, I my goal. It tells you I want to do 108. I want a TP at TP2. You calculate that, and then it'll tell you what stop loss you should be doing. So if you want a risk reward, 1 to 2, you're going to, buy 0.7 at 105, 0.6. It's just using this one right here, and then you're going to sell it at TP2. But it just says, hey, if you only want to risk $10, you're going to buy 0.7 SOL at this point and have a stop loss right here. That way, your risk reward is 1 to 2. If you don't like that risk, you could buy 0.35 and have a stop loss at 77. Still only risking $10, but the reward is going to be half as much as the more risky trade. So so it does tell you that, but I don't use stop loss too much. But this is really helpful, I think, in learning about risk management, and it is important to do. It is really important especially if you're away from your computer a lot. You're gonna want that. But sometimes, I don't know, I go back and forth in stop loss, but it is helpful. I always use stops when I'm shorting. I'll say that. If that's going down, you best believe we got a cap somewhere. Which you're saying something. Increase these.
I forgot, but I don't know if you recall, there was like a it was like a 145 4-hour short that Soul made, and this is just going back to like your um mention on the risk management. I had a bad tendency of like falling asleep and not setting a stop loss. And again, if I'm next to my computer, I'm more comfortable. But like I fell asleep on that one call, and I guess like the Asian markets woke up,
Well, you do that, man.
and like that was when Seoul went from like 147 to like 158, and I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
well, it's gotta come. What goes up must come down.
Yeah.
So I just held it for like 3 days.
Yep. It's gonna hang out.
Yeah, it was chilling. But yeah, dude, with the risk management, it's definitely important.
Oh yes, definitely. Because even I'm talking like with conviction and stuff. I did have other risk management things going on, even with the render trade. Like I had my limits. I had my ranges, my kind of psychological points where I would have to do things. So it's not just going in blind. There is reason to that. Just
No, yeah,
no stop loss. Yeah, exactly. They're just trying to.
nah, but like again, like Thor it just updates, so it'll let you know like those data points
Yeah.
and what to look out for. And I mean, there's a reason why I held it. One, because I wanted to save my capital, but two, like the the directions at which like Thor was pointing out, like with the invalidations, it worked. And thank God, like markets, nothing all went to zero and blah blah blah, right? But like it, just following through, and again, I there was a clear reason to not like just get shaken out. Um, but just looking at those points that Thor places for you is a great
Oh
template
yeah.
to just gain that reference and work from.
Yep. Then that stop loss and profit. I'll tell you, when I started doing that, man, things are looking good. It looks like it's kind of doing what we were talking about in BTC2. That's I want to say, if the ranges were higher, if we got down to here, I'd probably throw my stop loss like below that line, and then maybe pick at it up here, like to get another entry up here and that movement too, as it's flowing. But yeah, it's a fun watch here. Looks like we're testing that range again on the BTC. But right on. I think that's probably a great stopping point. Appreciate everyone for showing up and letting me just talk about Thor. Just
No doubt, we appreciate
enthused.
you, Dregz.
Yeah, no, appreciate you guys, man. Yeah, and thanks for asking questions, man, and being all up with it, keeping the chat honed in.
Yeah, bro. These it's simple things, just as